Southern Spain is dealing with a renewed earthquake emergency after another strong, extremely shallow tremor struck Granada Province on Tuesday morning. The earthquake hit at 10:37 a.m. local time, with its epicenter near Gójar, about 10 kilometers south of Granada City. Spain's National Geographic Institute initially listed the event at magnitude 4.7 and later revised it to 4.8. 3 people suffered minor injuries, including a young person who was taken to a hospital. Walls cracked, masonry and decorative elements fell from buildings, cars were damaged, and residents poured into parks and open spaces as a rapid series of aftershocks followed. The shaking was felt well beyond the immediate epicentral area. Although no widespread structural collapse has been reported, repeated earthquakes have left authorities concerned about weakened facades, older buildings, and damage that may not be visible from the street.
Ay, Dios mío de mi vida.
Tuesday's earthquake was not an isolated event. At 1:04 a.m. on Saturday, August 15, a magnitude 5 earthquake struck near Alhendín, only a short distance from Tuesday's epicenter. IGN first estimated that earlier shock at magnitude 4.8 before revising it upward. Its source was calculated at a depth of about 10 kilometers, shallow enough to produce strong local shaking across the Granada metropolitan area. The Saturday quake damaged houses, walls, cornices, and parked vehicles, but officials reported no deaths or serious injuries. It also triggered a broad inspection effort involving hundreds of requests from residents concerned about cracks and structural safety. The Alhambra was checked by specialists and reopened later that morning after no important damage was found. Over the following days, smaller tremors continued. Instead of fading into a simple sequence of steadily weakening aftershocks, the activity built toward a second earthquake of nearly the same strength.
¿Qué calle es esta? Mira qué calle es, Johnny. Madre mía.
One of the most serious precautionary evacuations occurred in Las Gabias, southwest of Granada. Technical teams identified cracks affecting columns and other structural elements, leading the Civil Guard to evacuate 371 homes and move approximately 600 residents out of the affected buildings. A municipal theater was opened to assist families who had no immediate alternative accommodation. The evacuation does not mean that all 371 homes were close to collapse. It means inspectors found enough uncertainty to keep residents outside until engineers could determine whether the buildings remain safe. That distinction is important during a developing disaster. Early evacuations are deliberately conservative because the cost of temporarily moving residents is far lower than allowing people to re-enter a structure that may be vulnerable to another aftershock. Elsewhere, residents chose to remain in parks and open areas because of fear and repeated shaking. Authorities urged calm while acknowledging that additional tremors could continue and that no agency could promise exactly when the sequence would end. Emergency services received more than 500 calls after Tuesday's shaking. Residents reported cracks in walls, falling bricks, damaged chimneys, broken facade elements, and debris landing on streets and vehicles. 7 streets in Granada City were cordoned off while firefighters, police, engineers, and civil protection teams inspected buildings and removed immediate hazards. 3 people were reported lightly injured. One of them, a minor, was transported to a hospital for evaluation. The limited injury count is reassuring, but it should not be confused with an absence of danger. Falling masonry can be lethal even when the main structure remains standing, and damage from a second strong earthquake may accumulate in walls or connections already weakened by the first. This is why police ask residents not to stand directly beside buildings. In a historic city containing older masonry, balconies, roof tiles, and ornamental facades, The danger after shaking can come from smaller exterior components rather than the complete collapse of a building.
Camino de Ronda. Mira la carretera. Camino de Ronda.
One of the most serious precautionary evacuations occurred in Las Gabias, southwest of Granada. Technical teams identified cracks affecting columns and other structural elements, leading the civil guard to evacuate 371 homes and move approximately 600 residents out of the affected buildings. A municipal theater was opened to assist families who had no immediate alternative accommodation. The evacuation does not mean that all 371 homes were close to collapse. It means inspectors found enough uncertainty to keep residents outside until engineers could determine whether the buildings remain safe. That distinction is important during a developing disaster. Early evacuations are deliberately conservative because the cost of temporarily moving residents is far lower than allowing people to re-enter a structure that may be vulnerable to another aftershock. Elsewhere, residents chose to remain in parks and open areas because of fear and repeated shaking. Authorities urged calm while acknowledging that additional tremors could continue and that no agency could promise exactly when the sequence would end. The earthquake also disrupted one of Spain's most important historic sites. Staff evacuated the Alhambra's Nasrid palaces and the Alcazaba and temporarily suspended public visits to those sections while conservation teams examined the complex. The Pardal and General Life initially continued operating under controlled conditions. By Tuesday evening, authorities said the Alhambra had not suffered significant structural damage. Inspectors did identify limited localized impacts involving non-structural and decorative elements. The precaution was justified because historic monuments respond differently from modern reinforced buildings, and even a small falling fragment can endanger visitors in crowded passageways. Precautions extended across the metropolitan area. Public administrative buildings, museums, sports facilities, hotels, and 2 shopping centers were temporarily closed or evacuated. Granada's Metro reduced train speeds to 30 kilometers per hour while infrastructure was checked. These measures were not proof of catastrophic damage. They were attempts to prevent secondary accidents while engineers established what remained safe to use. Granada lies within the Betic Cordillera, one of the most seismically active regions of the Iberian Peninsula. The broader tectonic setting is shaped by the slow convergence of the African and Eurasian plates, which creates and reactivates faults across southern Spain and the western Mediterranean. Within the Granada Basin, several known structures can generate earthquakes. Scientists have discussed the nearby Belecina Alhendín and Santa Fe fault systems, but they have not definitively assigned the current sequence to one specific mapped fault. An unmapped or poorly characterized structure may also be involved. The Tuesday earthquake was cataloged at an extremely shallow depth, effectively near the surface within the uncertainty of the calculation. Shallow earthquakes lose less energy before their waves reach buildings, so a moderate magnitude can produce sharp, damaging motion close to the epicenter. Local soil conditions can further amplify shaking, while older, unreinforced masonry is generally more vulnerable to cracks and falling facade elements than structures designed under modern seismic codes. The earthquake should be described seriously, but accurately. A magnitude 4.8 event is moderate on a global scale. It is not comparable to the magnitude 7 or 8 earthquakes capable of devastating entire regions. In Granada, the concern comes from the very shallow source, the location beneath a populated metropolitan area, repeated shaking, and the exposure of historic or already damaged structures. The current sequence also does not provide evidence that a much larger earthquake is definitely approaching. Aftershocks and clustered earthquakes are normal ways for the crust to redistribute stress after a rupture. Most sequences gradually decline, but individual events cannot be forecast with useful precision. Experts can identify hazardous regions and estimate long-term probabilities. They cannot reliably announce the exact time and magnitude of the next shock. For the same reason, every new wall crack should not automatically be labeled structural failure. Qualified inspectors must distinguish cosmetic plaster damage, fallen exterior material, and genuine damage to load-bearing columns, walls, or connections. Granada remains under enhanced monitoring as engineers inspect homes, public buildings, historic sites, roads, and transport infrastructure. Residents displaced from Las Gabias will need official clearance before returning, while cordon streets should remain off-limits until loose masonry and damaged facades are secured. Aftershock totals and magnitude estimates may continue to change as IGN reviews new seismic data. During shaking, experts recommend dropping to the ground, taking cover beneath a sturdy table or beside a strong interior element, protecting the head and neck, and holding on until the movement stops. People already outdoors should move away from facades, balconies, walls, power lines, and other objects that may fall. The safest response is calm action based on official instructions, not rumors, claiming that someone can predict the next earthquake. So far, Granada has avoided mass casualties and widespread collapse, but the sequence remains a serious test for residents, emergency services, and the region's historic buildings. Thank you for watching Extreme Weather US. If you value careful, verified coverage without unnecessary exaggeration, consider subscribing for future updates.